Ka tira tēnā tātou. Tēnā tātou I runga tāhutanga o te rangi a tāhua nei. O tira tuatahi e tautoko ana ngā mahi kia mihi ana. Nō reira e te iwi. E te iwi mai konei ki te motu. Nau mai whakatau mai. Ngā mihi tautoko hoki ki te kai whakaritenga e hemi nau I tō katu ngā whakamuimiti I tō tātou kaianga. Oi anō, kauri kia tātou te hunga ora, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou. I understand we are now ready to proceed. People can hear us online. But in order to help us through this, we do have some housekeeping matters to take care of, and I'll ask Vinny to cover those off for us.
Kia ora koutou katoa. For those people that are online and for people here as well, this is the first time that we've done a hybrid webinar. So we thank you for your patience while we try and manage that everybody online can hear and see us as well. So for those that have registered online, if you have other whānau with you, if you could just put in the Q&A session, Q&A box, the names of whānau that are with you so we can keep an attendance register. And if you're online, no video sharing through live feeds. And just to let everybody know that we do make the presentation and a recording of the hui available online once we've got that all processed. So probably towards the end of next week, it'll be on the website. So the presentation will be a panel presentation and then followed by a Q&A session. Those of you who are online, if you use the Q&A button to type your questions in about the presentation, and we will answer those, put those questions to the panel at the end. And we'll aim to close around 12 o'clock, all going well. So I'll turn you back to the panelists, Udiku Potaka and Richard Steedman.
Sure. So let's take a look at what we're going to cover off today with our overview. So we just had our housekeeping, and we'll have an update from our previous hui back in December. We then want to cover off two areas, essentially. The Waitangi Tribunal process update, which is coming towards its conclusion. Then also, of course, the settlement process update, which is what we're into at this moment. And at the end, question and answers, and if we've also got time, some runanga updates as well. So with that, we'll move on to the Waitangi Tribunal claims update, and Richard will present that.
Hi, kia ora anō tātou. Okay, so we're on that screen. So this is the update on where we are with the Waitangi Tribunal claims. And you can see there, we haven't gone right back to week 1, but right through each of the themes of each of those weeks from 3 onwards, and including each of our iwi, also from the Crown. Importantly, at 11 we had the landlocked land, and at 12 we had a hearing on the Kaweka and Wavis Crown price rental lands. And then since 13 onwards, it has been our closing submissions. As I said just before we started, we've had our closing submissions. The Crown is now about to have their closing submissions. They did their closing submissions on landlocked land. It took them 2 hearings because it's such a difficult issue to deal with. So that's a good sign. and that was at Rata, partly at Rata at the beginning of the year, and then on 1st of April in Wellington. Then we have the Crown generic closing, so that's for the whole case. As I said earlier, on the 9th, 10th and 11th at Mōwhango, we did have to really push the tribunal to have it at Mōwhango. They're not really keen to have any hearings in our rohe in the winter. We didn't ask them to have it at this time, by the way, but in their defence, COVID has not helped with the dates. But we have been insistent that we have this final hearing in our rohe. We are sick of people casting dispersions upon us as mountain people, as almost like yetis from the snow, because they're too scared to be having huis in colder places. We live here, none of us have, it hasn't done us any harm. You don't have to answer that one. So yeah, the 9th, 10th and 11th of June. As I said earlier, again, very important. Even if you can only turn up for the pōwhiri, where we do want to give a few messages to the Crown, most important, but also to the tribunal itself. And where we can give our messages is on the marae. And so that's what we are intending on doing. Then you'll see another hearing, 17, which is we are able to give a response to the Crown's closing submissions. We're not sure yet whether that will actually be a hearing or in writing, but there will be something coming up on that. Kia ora.
Here's the detail.
Yep. So yeah, well, of course, the next slides are actually the detail, and you've all got copies of the slides there. As I've just run through. I will just mention here on the landlocked lands, the Crown has made a number of important concessions. But one of the major things is they've said that landlocked land is noted as akin to land loss. So if we've got landlocked land, and we all know we have, and we've got lots of it, that actually it's might as well say we haven't even got it. We can't get to it. So that's a pretty major concession that they've made, especially when they have also accepted that of the Māori retained land in the rohe, the inquiry rohe, which is almost exactly the rohe of Mōhau Pātea, there's 70% of our lands are landlocked. Okay, so that's a huge, obviously, as some of us all know, that huge area landlocked, and so therefore a huge area that has been beyond our reach to truly enjoy as we should be able to. I've already covered the Mōwhango hearing, and then the closing submissions, and then that will be it. The hearing process will conclude, and the tribunal will deliberate and write up their reports. We don't know how long that could take. Could be 2 years, might be a little bit less, could be more. We just don't know. But those are the time frames in other inquiry districts. And but it sounds like the tribunal will release an early landlocked lands report, and it will be in this year. So we'll be looking forward to that. Yeah, so that's where we are at, as Uriku said earlier. We felt that all our people deserved that we get right to the end of this hearing process, even though we are also now in the mandate process and you're not really supposed to be imposed. At least we can say, well, we've finished the hearings and we'll go straight into mandate direct negotiations. So I will hand it back over here.
Just a couple of comments on Richard's cordial. One is that with the hearing at Mōwhango, essentially that will conclude essentially the whole hearing process. I've got to say, from the trust point of view, and as you can see from the slide, there was so many hearings that happened that it has been difficult to get support for the trust when we're presenting evidence at the hearings. So we are absolutely encouraging as many of our whānau as possible to at least attend the first day in the pōwhiri, because we really want to show to the tribunal, actually, there's more than half a dozen of us, or there's more than 20. I think at the most we got about 50 at one time, sort of thing. And so the idea is actually, let's, I guess, stand up and be counted right at the end of the tribunal hearing process. The other thing I think which is really cool, which Richard mentioned towards the end, is having or not having to wait so long for a report to come out from the tribunal. So usually you could, I don't know, you could wait for between maybe 2 to even up to 5 years to get a significant report coming through. But as Richard has said, what we're trying to do is support the tribunal to complete a report on landlocked lands, because it's landlocked lands which actually sets us apart from other iwi. And you know, between us, we've been quietly saying that landlocked lands is our issue. It's a Mokai Pātea Nutonu issue, which we're basically going to push forward. So it'd be good to get a report out sooner than later on that particular issue. We're also hoping to be able to tell that parts of that story in the media as well. We're still working on that and hopefully get some coverage in the public arena at the same time. So that essentially by the time we report next time, hearings will be complete. We're waiting for a report and we can focus all our attention on the other phase, because the other phase is the direct negotiations update, which I'd like to take you through where we've come through, where we're at the moment. So as you can see from the slide, you can see the list of, I guess, milestones that we need to achieve in order to reach settlement. We're at that. We're actually now the third part, the terms of negotiations. We'll talk more about that shortly. Let's take a look at the roadmap. It shows us where we are in that process, and you can see there. I guess all the money we've done so far to get us to this point. That's everything in green, and you'll see there right from the pre-mandate through to deed of mandate, which was March 2021. I'll talk more about that shortly. But then you can see beyond that, all the other parts that we need to achieve to get to settlement. And that's where our drive is now, is reaching settlement. So we can eventually put that aside and refocus our energies back into redevelopment, which is what we've been doing. And still we're trying to maintain best we can in the home front. So we're at the terms of negotiation. I'll talk more about that in the next slides. But the next slide is, we can say this: we have completed mandate. We've completed mandate. That is like a major achievement. Can't understate how much it is. Phew, it was a long process, and as you can see from the slide we've got up at the moment, it sort of formally started back in December 2017 when the trust advertised the draft mandate strategy. It was just before Christmas. It was before Christmas, and then we had a couple of months to get feedback. that whole process in itself, right from advertising, getting to the mandate hui and the voting, more submissions, and then that was back in, because that was started 2017, and then finally drafted a mandate going to basically the minister in November 2020. So it's just the end of last year. Like, we knew at that time it was quite a big weight off our shoulders, because we'd done everything we could to make it as robust and as strong as possible. And over that time, we had made multiple amendments to the deed as we went. As we talked to our whanaunga, representing Ngāti Hine Manu me Ngāti Paki Heritage Trust, and as we talked to our people as well. So we got it to a point where we thought it was strong enough, and so we actually held. We were invited to meet with Minister Little, Andrew Little, who's the Minister, of course, for treaty negotiations and who will be dealing with right through to settlement. That was back in February of this year. It wasn't a long meeting, it was actually quite short, I think half an hour as such, but we gave, I think, a very short, pithy presentation, which I believe, and indeed the rest of the team that attended it with me, gave confidence to the minister that everything we had done was strong enough to potentially withstand any challenge, because that's what, as minister, he has to consider the risks about confirming mandate. Nonetheless, not long after, we received the following letter, and this letter essentially confirms mandate, and it's signed off by Minister Little and actually Minister for Māori Development, Honourable Willie Jackson as well. So that's so this is the letter which basically says, right, we're ready to move on to the next phase. So it was a tough process, I've got to admit. But as we went through and we got the support of our whānau, of our hapu, and of our iwi along the way, we were, I guess, confident that a mandate would come through. So really a big thanks and shout out to everybody that was involved in that process to get us to the end. And I know many of our people were getting hoha every time we went back. Well, can you write another submission? We need you to, hang on, we just did a submission a year ago. Do we have to write another one? It's all about the process. It's all about ensuring the strength of our mandate. So that was essentially essential for us to get us across the line. So thank you to everybody, those who are online as well, and those who are in attendance today for the support in getting to this and completing mandate. So where are we to next? What's our next step? And our next step is what they call the terms of negotiation. The thing is about terms, so it's a document that both the Crown and ourselves will agree to. It's non-binding, so it doesn't have any legal standing, but nonetheless, it sets out the ground rules and objectives of negotiation. So just setting some ground rules out. So we're not in negotiation at the moment, so don't hit it, we're not there yet. We're not negotiating, we're simply setting the ground rules to negotiate. Now, once we get, the interesting thing about it is, once we get there, once we actually get to the point where we agree to these ground rules, we sign it off. It's actually the first time the Crown we would have signed anything with the Crown since the Treaty of Waitangi days, since that time. So this is, if you like, the first formal agreement that we have with the Crown. It's the first step. So that's in itself is a bit of a milestone. And as we go through to confirm those, as we develop and and confirm those terms. We'll also be inviting the Runanga, we'll also be talking to our representative Runanga and inviting any comment on those terms as we go too. So it's not completed in a vacuum. It's actually taking our representative bodies along with us. We think it might take between 5 and 6 months, and maybe shorter, just depending how quickly we can move with Hui and I guess time to focus on this. But once we get, we'll be happy when we get to that completion. So within the 6 months, we should have completed our terms of negotiation stage. So where are we at with implementation of our deed of mandate? Remember, that's the deed of mandate which has been approved by the Crown, or confirmed. And incidentally, the deed of mandate can be viewed online. It's on our website. So if you want to look at the detail, just go to our website and you'll be able to look at that detail. That's certainly what the trust responsibility is to follow the deed of mandate. So one of the concurrent tasks we're doing at the same time in terms of negotiation, we're also working on the appointment of a negotiating team. Obviously that's where we get right down to the business, and the team will be responsible for directly negotiating settlement with the Crown. The Crown has appointed chief negotiator. And her name escapes me. Catherine, good. Gordon. Yeah, thank you, Catherine Gordon. So we've met with her just on an initial basis, basically to get to know one another, and obviously our negotiating team will be working closely with her and officials. But we've got to get to that point of appointing negotiators. Now we've got some very broad parameters on what we're looking for in our negotiators. We're trying to get a spread across our Rohe. We're trying to get some fair representation amongst our iwi as well, through our Runanga. So we've got each of our iwi covered off. But importantly, it's probably the most important thing, that they have the skills and experience to negotiate. Well, that's probably the most important thing that we're looking for. And even better if they have that experience in negotiating. Now, as a trust, we've actually already started just schooling ourselves up by talking to negotiators, to people who have actually had that experience of negotiating. So that starts so that we're up to speed with what we're actually looking for when it comes to appointing the negotiating team. The other thing there is, and I touched on it earlier on, we have a deed of mandate. It's our responsibility as the trust to ensure that that deed of mandate is followed. And there are a number of things which we have to complete, or sorry, have to fulfill, shall I say, and to comply with essentially what everybody has agreed to in our deed. So we look quite closely at that as we progress through this process. The trusts have also committed to developing particular redress strategies to guide negotiations. They'll be specific to certain situations. For example, we've made it clear that there's a specific issue relating to poko, and we'll be developing a strategy as to how we deal with that whole situation that impacted on our Ngāti people in terms of the eviction.
Will that also apply to that other Manaweka,
At the moment, not specifically, but as we go through the this part of the process, the negotiation process, we'll be seeking, I guess, both individual and iwi aspirations about some of those issues that they believe need to be addressed in a settlement. So if there's particular issues that relate to our hapuru and iwi, for example, we're having to listen to those and see whether or not they do require a specific strategy, or whether they can be incorporated through in the negotiations process. Yes, yeah. We've yet to develop that that process, but we will be coming out to the people in the future to I guess brainstorm workshop on all those aspirations and all those issues that we think need to be addressed in a negotiation. Now, we're not saying everything's going to be addressed, but nonetheless, we need to find out from our people, from yourselves, what those issues are, and then of course leave it to us to figure out how we address them. So with that,
okay, so just get on to the communication strategy. You know, obviously communications is really the important part of all of this. Without getting the messages out to our people, and you know, sometimes we don't even want to know because it's hard, and it's not always an easy hikoi hiding to try and negotiate. However, for our communication strategy, you know, we still have the claimants who originally put in the claims. We've got to communicate with them, even though now that we're in mandate, the mandated group takes on all of those claims, and it's our responsibility as the claims trust to move those claims on. But we still obviously need to be communicating with our claimants. Very important, if not more important, is communicating with our registered members. And I'm sure you know that, and been a part of the membership drives that we've had through this whole process. And I think we're quite happy that we've seen our registration database going up for all 4 of our iwi. I say that with the proviso that it needs to go a lot higher. The issue with the Crown, of course, and how the Crown works is with numbers, you know, and if we bowl up with a small amount of numbers, they're going to be thinking, oh, well, these people will have a small, correspondingly small settlement. That's as a base sort of line, without talking about the negotiations and any specific unique activities like landlocked land that we have in our rohe. So we will be doing another database drive to get as many people on our database at the moment for that negotiations process. I'm asking this on the fly, so apologies, but can you, Lavinia, knower of all things, can you say off the top of your head how many we've got in each of our iwi?
I can look it up and I'll come back to you on that.
Yeah. Okay, that'll come through. When we first started this process, it's like 7 or 8 years ago now. I remember thinking at the time, and I might have even voiced it at a trust meeting, we need at least 10,000 people registered on our database between our 4 iwi. 10,000. Now, end of last year, we got to 6,600, I think it was. That was combined. So with our 4 iwi, it's been updated since then. I'm just giving you an idea. End of last year, we might have an update one coming through. So we're only part of the way there. I'm extremely confident that there are a lot more of our people out there that we have not got to, that we need to get these numbers up. I mean, yes, in part, it's, as Richard said, it's one of those figures that will be put into the computer to determine what our settlement's going to be, and to be, used to calculate what that settlement's going to look like. Yes, we accept that, and it's one of the reasons to drive. But of course, the other reason is because as we're driving forward, we're saying to the Crown, we have 4 iwi. This trust represents 4 iwi, not one big one. And each of our 4 iwi, it's about developing each of our 4 iwi at the same time, and that's what iwi development's about. So each of our iwi need to not only drive it, but also use that information, hopefully use that information in their own, to meet their own development aspirations as moving forward. So there's benefit to the trust and the settlement, there's betterment for our respective iwi, who have just completed there was training with individual iwi too, in terms of how to utilize that database. As well, so that our iwi can use that information at the same time. So we've got to that stage. Now we just need to populate it. So I just can't understate how important it's going to be when we actually proactively go out and drive more registrations.
So I can give you the
thank you.
Ngāti Hawati, 2,861 members. Ngāti Uhuaki, 1,127 members. Ngāti Tamakopiri, 1,434 members. Ngāti Pitikopeka, 1,619 members. And just through here, the database development that we've done allows each iwi to see their own iwi membership information and to pull out their own reports in regards to their own members. And the Claims Trust can see the collective membership for the purpose of running votes like we've just had with the mandate. So, very early stages in that development, but we will work a lot more closely with each of the iwi over the next couple of years to really get the benefits of that joint database.
Vinny, thanks for that. Yeah, so just moving along there, and I have to say, you heard those figures. We all know there's a lot more than that in our respective iwis. We need to be working on that. It's hard, but we need to do it. And of course, when we're populated and when we're in our database, it's so much easier for our runangas to come out to our people and communicate, which of course is the next point here, the communication with those runanga and the runanga delegates. So of course, we've got 4 runanga who within themselves represent each of the 4 iwi of Mokai Pātea. We also have information hui at key junctures, and it's great that we've actually had this period, in fact, to have this hui. It's really good to see the numbers today. We have a marae engagement strategy that's actually in our mandate strategy, obviously, as the vocal points of our iwi. That is very important to us. There are also opportunities for engagement with the Heritage Trust, which continues, including this very week we have been able to send out an invitation to the Heritage Trust to meet and discuss with them the implementation of the deed of mandate. So that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all of the major parts of our communication plan. Kia ora.